Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, and it is enrollment season. So we are talking about some of the amazing charter schools that we have in San Antonio and how families can start to research and apply for the 2022-23 school year, which feels like it's so far away, but it's actually not because schools are already starting their open enrollment period. So this is your chance today to learn more about BASIS charter schools in Texas and specifically in San Antonio. We're so lucky to have a cluster of BASIS charter schools in San Antonio, and they are growing. So our guest today to talk about BASIS charter schools in Texas, we have David Hubalik, and he is the Vice President of Academic Operations at BASIS.ed Texas. Thank you, David. And we
Thank
also
you.
have America Palmer, and she is the head of school at BASIS San Antonio Primary North Central, which is the one that's kind of close to the airport. So thank you so much, America, for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a whole bunch of questions for you guys. So David, first, can you give us like big picture about BASIS charter schools, which people may not know? Like they're in lots of different states, they're all across the country, and they're some of the top ranked schools in the country.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, taking a step back, thinking just primarily about what is our mission. Simply put, our mission is to empower students to achieve at globally competitive levels through a transformative K-12 education, right? So that's kind of that's our elevator pitch. But when we think about what that actually means and how that manifests in reality, it's making sure that our students they develop a love of learning. And then through that, we can continually push and raise the bar. We know that kids, even at a young level, they'll rise to the occasion. And as we'll kind of hopefully talk a little bit later, what successes do we realize when students actually achieve more than they actually thought? So it's really exciting. I've had the opportunity to kind of work with other charter groups and also visit and everybody, they all do great work. But I think what we do is something, it's pretty special. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it. But, and I think that value add to the market, right? Providing a specific option to families, there's been a lot of demand over the years. And so that's kind of fostered our growth. We started as a small mom and pop in Tucson, Arizona. And I think if you can do it in, downtown Tucson, you can do it just about anywhere. Not necessarily, no offense to my Tucsonian friends, but not necessarily known as on the map as, a premier destination for educational options.
Right. My husband grew up in Tucson, so
okay.
Yeah, we are familiar. Yes.
I went to Arizona State, so there's a natural rivalry. But we started as a small mom and pop shop, and over the years we've exploded, and now we started 54 students. Now we're serving north of 20,000, and as you mentioned earlier, we're pretty excited about what's to come with BASIS charter schools in Texas.
Yeah. Well, great. Okay, I'm gonna put all the faces on screen. So I want David, you and America to both kind of comment on like how you came to join BASIS and kind of what roles you performed and what you do now at BASIS.
Okay. Why don't you go? The school leaders are far more important than me.
Okay. Okay. So America, how did you come to join BASIS?
Well, back in 2016, I had already previous experience with being a speech therapist for 6 years. I feel like I've had many lifetimes, by the way. And I know I look really young, but I've actually been in education for about 15 years. So, I have quite a bit of an extensive experience. But, about 6 years ago, I wanted a change. I wanted to really make an impact and really feel passionate about what I was doing day to day. I'm a terrible liar. So if I don't believe in what I'm doing, it's going to come off in my tours and my presentations and everything. I mean, I spend most of my time with, the people here and the children here and away from my family. So I have to feel very passionate about what I do in order to find it, worth not spending time with my family and focusing on this. So in 2016, I just randomly came across this Dean of Students position that was available for Met Center. And I thought, this looks interesting. Let's just kind of see what it's, what it's about. So actually, David Hubalik interviewed me for Dean of Students. And in the interview, honestly, like, I submitted the application. He called me the next day, and the next day I was for the interview, so I didn't get a chance to really do a lot of research. So I thought I'm gonna just be myself, and they should know who they're getting if that's what they want. So I even remember commenting on like future plans for BASIS. Like, this is a person that hasn't even read the BASIS website, okay? And I had opinions in the interview, and I was like, and I felt good about it, and I thought, we'll see what happens. So then David calls me back and offers me the position for Dean of Students. And I thought, well, if I can be opinionated in an interview and still get the position, this is the place for me. So ever since then, I started as a Dean of Students for a year under David. David was the head of school at the time. And then I was promoted to Director of Student Affairs and helped open Medical Center, the Medical Center primary. Then I was asked to join North Central's team as the interim head of school in November of the first year that we opened. And I've been here ever since. And I could have not made a better decision. I love working for BASIS. I love our mission. I love that we actually care about the students first, aside from everything else. That's what we have, at the forefront of our minds. And having so much experience in other places, this is the only place that I can truly say that about. So that's the decision I ever made.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, you could be your true self and still get the job. And that's a sign you're in the right place.
Because I can only pretend to be somebody else for so long.
Well, I think what I'll just kind of jump off of that. I think what's important though that she highlights there is that, we hire leaders on our campuses. We don't hire just kind of, we're not, puppet masters, right? We want our leaders to be opinionated. That's part of what has, I think, really cultivated such a robust and rich curriculum and continually raising the bar and continually digging deep is because we rely on our team members to push us forward rather than it always being from the top down. And so, we tell our school leaders all the time, we want you to have an opinion. We don't want you to just smile and nod because ultimately it's not professionally fulfilling, but then it also doesn't take us to that next level. So I still remember calling America. I was standing outside a hotel in Austin. For whatever reason, that was burned into my brain. But it was a good decision for us, and we're really grateful to have America.
Oh, thank you.
Well, that's great. Actually, so my next question is for America, and that is, so if you could talk about BASIS Primary North Central and what things you're most proud of about that specific campus.
Well, and of course it's my campus, so I'm a little biased, but I do feel very lucky. We have a fantastic group of teachers, very dedicated, very motivated, and we have just amazing non-teaching staff as well. We just have a really good overall group of individuals who really care about our students and really care about each other, which is important. So while we have, different accolades and different things, what comes to mind at first is just how well we're doing despite the pandemic. So last year, everybody was dealing with it, and all the schools had to handle that situation. But we were lucky because I felt like it actually brought us closer together. Like our community came together. We got closer to the students, even though we were virtual for half of the time, at least, and with half of the students for the whole year. And all our events were virtual, but no matter what, we just were supporting each other. We were there for each other. When we had the blizzard, it was the same thing. It just brought us closer together. But not only that, we stayed true to our model and to our rigorous curriculum. We didn't sway from that. It didn't give us an excuse to, change things up. We stayed true to who we are, despite, all of the crazy things going on outside of these walls. So I'm very proud of that. And I just feel very lucky that we got something good out of the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember, BASIS, I guess the teachers during, for folks who were in Texas, it's we had there was actual spring break. And then towards the end of actual spring break, that's when, the news broke open of okay, this is really serious. And then there was some kids got kind of extra spring break and then distance learning started. Whereas for BASIS, y'all are already training teachers on how to do school over Microsoft Teams, during spring break. And so the kids really didn't lose any learning time because BASIS was already tech savvy. maybe the fact that there's like independent schools in China, maybe you guys already had kind of like an early warning system, or like have a sense of something serious is happening. But like having a strong grounding in technology and teachers who are willing to train up and learn and do new things. Like my observation was that it was a very quick response to changing things, and that was served to the benefit of students because they didn't experience interruptions and like the standards didn't slip.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's funny, we were just talking about this at the faculty meeting earlier this week. Like we all kind of blocked it. Like, how did we all get on Teams? Because we had, of course we had it on all our own laptops, but we hadn't really needed to use it prior to the pandemic. But we were all just able to do that. And the teachers, we did talk a little bit about possibly needing to switch things around a little, maybe, before spring break, thinking, we might come back maybe a couple of days late or something like that. But aside from that, it was a surprise. I was calling my teachers on spring break. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but we can't open the school. We need to figure this out. And everybody was just on board and willing to really jump on there. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised and happy that we were all able to get on the Teams quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to put David on the spot and ask him to share kind of success stories or things that you can think of that sort of demonstrate BASIS culture in action.
Yeah. So I think I've been with BASIS for a long time, and it's it's so narrowing down the success stories to one or two is something that it's hard because there's obviously been a lot of success that I've been fortunate to be a part of. Doesn't mean that it's always perfect, and sometimes you got to grind it out. I always tell the kids that it's like polishing a stone, right? When you polish a stone, you're not it's not just always involved that really soft cloth, right? Most of it is pretty brutal. But I think to the broader question, right, to kind of sum up kind of who we are. I think we have kind of 5 kind of informal core values. The first of which is something we're proud of, which is that nerds are cool, right? So not necessarily nerds in like the Screech sense, right? For our Saved by the Bell fans. But we want our students to love learning. We want them to seek academic excellence, and we want them to see that in others and think, I want that for myself too. We think that school should be hard, right? If we're not pushing ourselves and pushing our students, we're not preparing them for what comes, right? So, our goal is to not just get them into, whatever school that they want to get into, but to make sure that they're successful. And that kind of leads to the success story, but I'll come back to that in a minute. I think the third is that excellent student outcomes really only come from expert teachers, and not just necessarily teachers that know how to teach, but teachers that really know their content and have a deep love and understanding for what it is that they're sharing with their students. Kids are savvy. They'll pick up on if you're what America said, if you're faking it, right? We want expert teachers that are conveying a passion, and we want our students to go home and can't wait to tell their parents about what they learned in math or what they learned in history class, and then want to be historians. We've got this funny story that we tell. Carolyn McGarvey, she's the CEO of our Arizona wing, and she was giving a tour to some people, and kiddo runs out and she stops him and they introduce him, and she doesn't know him, kind of personally. And she asks, "What's your favorite subject?" And history is my favorite subject. And so kiddo, goes back to class, and, they're continuing the tour, and they had a passing period. And that same kid comes out from the next class. And so she stops him again, just, as a quick test, and says, "What's your favorite class?" "Math. I love math." So then the kid goes back into class, right? And that's what we want for our students. We want every class that they're in to be their favorite class. We think that academic achievement is the responsibility and the reward of the entire network, right? So when we have successes, we collectively applaud those successes. But when when we have students that are struggling or teachers that are struggling, that's also our responsibility, right? So the entire network is both responsible for the input and the output. And then ultimately, we want our students to know that they're leaders and not spectators in their own education. I think that that's critically important. And the way that that manifests sometimes is a little unpopular, right? And also sometimes I like to say it's like MS-DOS, right? But ultimately, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so we really integrate at a nuanced level development of personal responsibility and ownership of your own education. Because if you don't have that at some point, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue on and be successful. So when we think about the success rate, I was thinking about this a little bit earlier today. I think our high school program, like the culmination of our high school program, which is AP based, is a senior year that's largely based on capstone courses. It's meant to be a bridge year. Our students actually meet their graduation requirements at the end of 11th grade. So it's meant to be a bridge year. So that's the year where we actually engage with our students in a way that is more typical of a college atmosphere than a high school atmosphere. And it's meant really to prepare them for the type of experience that they're going to see in college. And then we send them out on their own. But they still reap the rewards of the previous years. And so, I mean, just simply put, the AP focus in our high school, we require a certain number of advanced placement courses, both breadth and depth. And we pay for those, right? So I'm thinking I won't say the school or the last name, but one of our students from one of our campuses, we opened up, she's a fifth grader, about this tall, but her backpack was this big, kind of like falling all over. And she was an okay student. She wasn't, not kind of off the charts, but, she worked hard. She progressed all the way through, matriculated to San Diego State University. Parents, modest income, good, hardworking family. But Rena, in the number of courses, the AP exams that she took that we paid for, came out to about $1,200 that we contributed towards advanced placement exams. The realization in cost savings from her coming in halfway through her sophomore year. So when we actually calculated it out, she came back and of course, she's a BASIS student, so she'd done the math. Room and board, tuition, books was about $100,000 that just through her hard work and then our curriculum and the teachers' hard work and their investment. And that's outside of the scholarships she earned, right? So that doesn't include the scholarships that she earned, but it was a cost savings of about $100,000, right? So when we think about, and then of course the most important thing is she wanted to graduate and is doing great things and changing the world. But ultimately, when you think about a family and what the possibilities that open up for our students, which is why we're here. The beauty of school choice is families can figure out what's best for them. We think we're a really good option for the Renas of the world that want to come in, they want to work hard, they want to strive for excellence. Doesn't mean that it's always excellent, but they want that, and then they want to reap the benefits of their hard work. So,
yeah. Well, David, that's great. That's why I'm so glad that you and America are explaining this. Well, I should mention that we have a link to the in the description of the video, it'll take you to shrmos.com. That's where we have the enrollment guide blog post. And that I should have mentioned that earlier, but that's what we're hyping on our social media feeds today. But this video will be embedded because I really feel like to get a good picture of BASIS, it helps to read the blog post, but also hear from people like David, you and America, and then also we'll get to this later, but talking about doing school tours, going to info nights, that's a really great way because BASIS is a fantastic school, but it's not every kid is going to be happy there, and not every family wants to make the investment and the commitment of, because it kind of restructures your family a little bit if you have a BASIS kid, but it can lead to great rewards. As charter moms, we want families to make an informed decision about what BASIS is like, and I think you've painted a really good picture of what the benefits are and what it means for students to have that personal responsibility, right? Whether it's their CJ, right, their communications journal, they're responsible for what's in that. They're taking it back and forth. That's the communication tool, and then once it gets to be senior year, they have to supervise and launch that project, whether it takes them to India or whether they're in a university lab or they're in a corporate setting or whatever, they have to take ownership of that. And it's a lot of responsibility, but it really opens doors for kids.
Yep. That's true. But it is, I'll add, it's tough, but it's a nurturing environment, especially at our primary grade levels. I'm fortunate. I've got 3 youngins in BASIS schools. America's got her own. I would say that my kids come home saying the things that I described earlier. But at least in our instance, we felt like it was the right choice for our family because we wanted to push them. But especially at the younger grade levels, it's not pushing for the sake of pushing, right? So anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue because actually I wanted to ask America more about the BASIS primary program because I know our SE Terminals audience. There's a lot of families with preschool or elementary age kids, and so they'll want to know more about the BASIS primary model. So and that's what you do at North Central. So can you talk about some of the benefits of that?
Yes, of course. So to piggyback up a little bit off from what David was mentioning earlier. So, the way that I like to see it is that APs are big in our high school program. They start actually in the middle school program. But AP prep starts in kindergarten. For us, we understand that that's where our kids are going. So we want to make sure that they're successful and prepared for that. So I like to talk about the kinder curriculum the most because that's most of the students that we get new every year. But they also have they have to be personally responsible for their learning. Yes, they're 5 and they're arguably our cutest population here on campus. They're adorable. They're very vocal, very smart. But they also have CJs that they have to fill in every day. And my son is in 2nd grade now, but he did start with us here in kindergarten. And I know the first few months, I could not understand what he was writing. It was scribbles for all I know, but he had his CJ that he had to write everything down in and know what his homework was and get that done. What a lot of our parents are shocked by is that we actually do grade kindergarten work. They get an actual letter grade with it. They can fail math, they don't understand it. And that's okay. And we start that when they're young so that they understand that a test is just a check for understanding. We just need to know which part you understood and which part you didn't. And then we address that and we move forward, so that is a big thing for us. We know that they're 5, we know that they're cute, but we will challenge them and they will step up to the challenge. We have this is our 5th year in operation and we've had kindergartners every year and, they get the hang of it. They don't know any different, right? So starting them early, it always helps with that. Trying to think, just lost my train of thought. Okay, so we have a very rigorous, I really want to emphasize that we have a rigorous kindergarten program, but we do have, several recesses throughout the day. We understand that, again, they're little. So we do have those brain breaks, wiggle breaks. They do get PE every day in addition to the recesses. And we do have specialist classes like art and performance arts and engineering and things like that to have a little bit of a break. But it's because the other times are really academically focused and academically rigorous. So if you're considering our program for your kindergartner next year, the best way to prepare them is to make sure that they know their alphabet, all the letters in the alphabet, that they know their first and last name and can write their first name, and if they know their colors. If they can come in with that, they will be ready and prepared to follow our program and be successful with us.
Yeah. Well, that's a good foundation. I know I've been lucky to be able to tour BASIS primary at medical center, and then more recently, that was pre-pandemic, and then after the pandemic, visiting during BASIS Northeast. And you're right about the kindergartners are so cute, and they're so intense about what they're doing. They're very focused on what they're doing, but then they're also very playful. If it's food, if it's cafeteria time, they're just jumping on the food. So
yeah, they are.
5-year-old.
Yeah, me too, completely. And they have their section of the playground, so that's kinder only, and their whole side of the building because it's the kinder wing, we call it. And we know that we have to teach them the student skills and and everything that they need to be successful. And there are children, and we have spirit weeks and pajama day and all that fun stuff. But the focus is still the academics.
Yeah. Well, great. Okay, let's see. So my next question is for David. And as I alluded to at the very beginning of the show, BASIS is growing in San Antonio. So if you could talk about the Jack Lewis Jr. campus.
Yeah. So our newest campus next year is going to be Jack Lewis Jr. Campus. It's situated right there by SeaWorld, if you're familiar with the northwest side of town. In fact, adjacent properties. So quite literally, our students can walk to SeaWorld. So it's about a 12-acre campus. It's going to be built in 2 phases, 2 stories, fully built out. It's going to be a K-12. Next year, we are enrolling. We're accepting applications for grades K-8, which we're really excited about. This is the first campus that's actually named after an individual. Usually, they represent the city or the area of town that they're in. But we received a generous donation. A generous anonymous donation in the name of Jack Lewis Jr., who many may know, a lifelong San Antonian, contributed quite a bit to the community over the years, and so it was donated. The donation was in his name, so we're really proud to kind of honor him and his legacy in San Antonio. With a beautiful new campus there in the northwest side of town.
That's a really fast-growing part of San Antonio, and I think that charter schools growing is part of meeting the need of families that are coming to that part of town and giving them a variety of school options.
That's right. I mean, personally, I think it's a beautiful part of town. Not that there's a really bad part of San Antonio, but it's a beautiful part of town. And I know a lot of our current families, they commute from there to the medical center campus, which if you've ever commuted into the medical center in the morning, it shows their commitment to their children. But we're excited to kind of relieve that pressure for those existing families and also welcome new families. So again, we're accepting applications for grades K-8. Starting November 3rd, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point, but open enrollment starts November 3rd.
Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, no, that's the next topic. So let me get that link on the screen. Enroll BASIS. Okay. So yeah, actually, David, America, if you both want to chime in, what do families need to know? Like, how do they get more information? What is the enrollment timeline? How can they learn more about what BASIS schools are like?
Open enrollment starts on November 3rd. As David just mentioned, that is the best time that you want to submit an application, because that window from November 3rd to December 15th, those applications will be put into the lottery in January. If you submit an application outside of that window, it won't be included in that first lottery. So it's very important to submit it between November 3rd and December 15th. At Texas.com. That's where you can go. You can find all of the different applications for all the schools at that website.
That's right. And on November 3rd, the first day of open enrollment, we invite all of any prospective families to join us. Every one of our campuses will be hosting an open house. We'll be doing info sessions. You'll be able to see the beautiful campus. If you come to JLJ, you'll get to imagine what the beautiful campus will look like. But no, we'll have posters and all those things out there for those info sessions. But come meet some teachers, meet our school leaders, hear more about San Antonio and the BASIS schools that we have there. We really encourage families to learn more. Sometimes there's some misunderstandings about who we are, right? We're not a STEM school. We actually have a robust liberal arts curriculum. As America pointed out, our students aren't actually robots. We don't require dress uniforms. We want our students to be themselves while they explore an academically enriching curriculum. So be yourself, work hard, have fun, and get smart. That's kind of what we're all about. So
yeah, where it's a safe place to be a nerd, and you can be yourself. Right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, no, whenever I have visited BASIS campus, I see lots of joy and lots of self-expression, and then also like, just really like amazing student artwork on the walls, or like I hear like, the orchestra practicing, and I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty good, yeah, a trophy case full of sports and academic awards.
Well, that's exactly right. Our students are taking foreign language at every grade level. Um, they're taking fine arts at every grade level, right? So we very, very intentionally have a robust liberal arts education. And I used to tell my students, it wasn't by accident that Da Vinci was an incredible inventor and also a beautiful artist, right? Those two things are not mutually exclusive. They complement each other, and our curriculum does that as well.
Yeah. Well, great. Okay. Well, do either of you want to offer kind of a closing thought, and I'll put the link on the screen again so folks can apply during open enrollment.
So I just want to mention that we do also offer tours. So once open enrollment starts, you can go to the websites for each individual school and see when their tours are and sign up for that. I always recommend for you to bring the children along that might be joining us, so that they get a chance to also see the classroom in action and see the building with other students here. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
So again, November 3rd through December 15th, open enrollment period. Please come join us on November 3rd. We'd love to have you. We'd love to answer your questions. We'd love to show you why we're so proud of our schools and our teachers. Right, we're fortunate to be the best district in Bexar County, and it's through the hard work of our students and our teachers, and we're really grateful for that. And so please join us. We're so excited to welcome you and all of our new families to the Jack Lewis Junior Campus, where it's going to be a beautiful place to come and to learn.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I'm so happy. My observation is that BASIS adapted very well to the challenges of the pandemic. Kept students learning, kept high standards, and we've had great communication with what's going on with BASIS schools. Sharing about senior projects and stuff like that. Anyway, all those links are linked in the enrollment guide blog post. So, but I'm really impressed with what BASIS has done. I'm really grateful that there are so many BASIS schools in San Antonio. Now you're opening. There's schools in Austin as well. So if anyone from Austin is tuning in,
That's right.
there's hope for you. Yes, and it keeps growing. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Charter Moms Chats. Let me put this up on the screen one more time. EnrollBasisTX.com. That's where families can go apply and do it during open enrollment, November 3rd to December 15th. And those open houses November 3rd. That sounds great.
Yeah.
We thank you for all your support and getting our message out there. We know that there's a lot of really great options in San Antonio, and we're among them. We hope that we appreciate all your support in getting our message out there. So we're grateful to you too.
Yes, thank you, Inga.
So much. Okay, thanks, David. Thanks, America. Thanks for joining me.
All right. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.